After you learn about OCD and how it works, the next step that you need to take is to find somebody to help you through your journey. So let's go back to the whiteboard and figure out together how you can find the best person to help you manage, overcome, and get through this hard disorder. Okay, so step number 2 in your OCD journey is very important. Step number 2 is you need to find an OCD specialist. This is somebody that's not just a therapist, just a psychologist, just a peer mentor. It's somebody that actually specializes and understands the evidence-based approach to OCD. This is very important because a lot of people out there will say that they understand OCD. A lot of therapists will say that they treat OCD. A lot of peer support will say that they can help you find the right resources. But a lot of people do not have the right information. So let's kind of go through the weeds really quickly and figure out, because this is really important. This is a huge step. If you get connected with the wrong person in the beginning of your journey, that can set you back a while. It happened to me. When I was 22 years old, I got diagnosed with OCD correctly from someone that didn't know how to treat OCD. He said he did, but he didn't. He didn't follow any of the evidence. He didn't follow any of the science. I just trusted him. Okay? So, number 1 that you need to do when you're finding an OCD specialist is do not just trust their word. Do not just trust their website. Do not just trust their biography. You need to sit down and ask them questions and really dive into if they know what they're talking about. A lot of people will say that they understand OCD, but then they'll do things that are just incorrect. Okay? So, to try to help you find someone quicker, again, we do not just trust the person. We have to do some research and find the right person. So how can you find the right person? Well, the first thing that you want to do, and I know this is going to sound kind of odd, but literally look up or Google OCD therapist or OCD clinics or OCD centers near me. Okay? I actually go to a place that's called OCD LA. OCDLA.com. All they do is OCD, and there's a lot of clinics that just specialize in OCD. If you can find a therapist, a coach, a clinic, a center, whatever it is, if their title is OCD on it, that's really the best first step to know, okay, this person probably understands OCD. Now, when you're looking for somebody, you're going to find different titles by the therapist and the psychologist. You might find like psych, you might find LMFT, you might find LPCC. You're going to find different titles that are on their name. Basically, psych is a psychologist, MFT or LMFT is a marriage and family therapist, LPCC, licensed professional counselor. I mean, the acronym doesn't really matter. The first one I went to actually has a little more education, which is a psych or a psychologist. He gave me the worst information. My therapist is an MFT. He gave me the best, okay? But you want to start with and look up therapists, clinics, centers, somebody near me, okay? The next thing that you can go to is the IOCDF website. On there, they have therapists that are vetted to be somebody that actually follows and treats the right clinical approach to OCD. Okay, so these are the 2 ways that you can start finding somebody quickly. You can also rely on some peer support specialists that specialize in helping you find somebody. Reach out to me, I can help you find some people that can connect you with the right evidence-based approach. And there's a lot of other, Christy Hodges is somebody that's awesome that can help you find the correct person or the correct clinic to help you. But again, step 1 in finding an OCD therapist is do not trust their biography on Psychology Today. Don't just trust their website. Look at someone that is an OCD therapist only. They're a clinic for OCD, a center for OCD. Check out the IOCDF website. Make sure that you start with the appropriate steps because it's going to help you in the long run. Okay? Now, when you meet with somebody, this is your time, and you need to interview them. You need to ask them questions. Even if they work at a clinic or they say they're an OCD therapist or center, you need to ask them some specific questions, because people can say that they treat OCD and they can have all the right credentials, but sometimes they don't follow what the evidence shows. So what does the evidence show? The evidence shows right now ERP therapy is really, I call it the gold standard because it's been around the longest, late 70s, early 80s. Exposure and response prevention. Ask them what their experience is. If they don't understand, or if they don't know what ERP is, or if they're kind of, well, I sort of use it, that's going to be a bad sign. Unless maybe they do something called ICBT. This has been around since probably the early 2000s. It's starting to get a lot more ground in the OCD world, but it has evidence behind it. So they could also be an ICBT therapist. And then some incorporate ACT into like ERP or ACT into ICBT. But the ACT model, these three really have been shown through random controlled studies, through a lot of different peer-reviewed articles to help OCD, okay? So what I would do is when you're meeting with somebody, ask them, do they use ERP, ICBT? Do they incorporate ACT into anything? How long have they been treating OCD? I would also ask them their views on compulsions. I've worked with a lot of people and they've said, you know, I'm working with someone who says that they treat OCD and they do exposures. So, okay, great, like, cool, like, what's their approach to compulsions? Well, we haven't touched compulsions yet. You know, compulsions are really key because, as we talked about in other videos, compulsions are the gas that keep the obsessions going. If all you're doing is just throwing yourself into exposures and you don't understand what your compulsions are, you're really negating the exposure, okay? So you have to ask the therapist their approach to compulsions, their understanding of compulsions. When you do this, if the therapist doesn't have quick answers to all of this, and also, the years that they have helped, if they can't answer it right away, if they don't know it right off the top of their head, honestly, that's probably somebody that you do not want to be looking to help you. Which brings me into the next one. And actually, now let's keep it here. I have enough room. These are going to be the red flags. Okay, so do I have a red pen? No, I don't. So I'll just put it. Red flags. If you see these, you run away. Okay? Red flags are going to be something that you do not want to look at. So if somebody says something like, just think about other thoughts or distract yourself, red flag. Okay? If somebody says something like, put a rubber band on your arm and just snap it, that's going to be a red flag. Just yell and just tell that thought to get away from you, that's going to be a red flag. I've seen some that say put something on your shoulder and throw it away. I'll just take that bad thought and throw it out of here. Those are going to be red flags. Okay? There's a few others that every now and again people will say, but these are really the big ones. My therapist told me, my first one, told me, look, when you have that bad thought, just say, get out of your head, just run away from it, literally run away from it. That's a very common thing, and that's an old and now disproven way of approaching OCD, because as we've talked about in other videos, when you're giving those importance to the thoughts by saying, go away, or by throwing it away, you're doing a compulsion because you're adding importance to that thought, right? So, step number 2 is very important, everybody. I mean it. You need somebody with you to help you through this OCD journey. Somebody that understands it. Just because they have a title on their website, just because they have a title on their business card, is not a thing that means that they're actually going to help you. Just because their website says that they treat OCD or their Psychology Today biography says that they treat OCD, that is not necessarily true. Okay? So when you're finding an OCD specialist, remember, do not just trust them. I did first step, really hurt me. It put me 10 years behind everybody. I went to the psychologist. I was, put on the medication that's shown to help OCD, but I wasn't given the right tools. So I was stuck. For 10 years, I didn't find anybody. So I trusted them. I didn't do the research. When you're finding somebody, look at OCD therapists, clinics and centers and places. Find a peer support specialist that can help you find the right person. You need to find somebody, and the title doesn't always matter. Again, number 3, when you're there and you interview them and you ask them about ERP, ICBT. How many years have they been treating OCD? Do they use ACT into this? And then again, what are their views on compulsions? And then step number 4, look for those red flags. Because honestly, if they're telling you to do weird things that do not follow the science, the data, the proven results for OCD, that's just going to make it harder for you through your journey. Okay? As always, everybody, reach out if you need anything, comment below, and please stay strong.